Hi and welcome back to Lavender Coco Kitchen. Well, if you are planning to have a party at Halloween, well, this is a fun idea that you might like to try. I actually got the idea because a while ago my husband gave me these mini bundt tins. So I thought they could probably make a good jack-o'-lantern cake. So I just tried out the idea and it worked quite well, so I thought I should share it. And also, because it is a light, it can remind us that no matter how dark the world may seem to be, there is always hope. And besides that, they are a really tasty treat. So this cake is basically a vanilla sponge cake recipe, which I've taken from my Lamington recipe, and I've just added a few extra things to it, like some spices that you'd find in pumpkin pie spice and a bit of orange zest. Just gives it that lovely warm spicy flavour, which is really delicious and also very good for you as well. The step you should do first is to mix a cup of almond milk with 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar and just leave that to curdle. And 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar, which will curdle the almond milk to make something resembling buttermilk. So we'll just stir that and leave it aside for a few minutes. So we're going to start with some spelt flour. So it's just wholemeal spelt flour, 1.5 cups. So just going to put that in the mixer. Got 1/2 cup of coconut sugar, which has a really nice flavour to it, and it's a low GI sugar. I'm going to add to that just about 1/2 tablespoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Right, now for our spices. So we have cinnamon, ginger, cloves and nutmeg. These you'll find in pumpkin pie spice, so you could use that if you have that. So I'm just going to put 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon in, 1/4 teaspoon of ginger powder, just a little bit of cloves because that's quite a strong one. You can add more if you really like cloves. We will grate in some nutmeg, or you could use already ground nutmeg if that's what you have, but grating it like this has a better flavour. A 1/4 teaspoon of salt, just brings out the flavours a bit more. Now we want to add a little bit of colour, a bit of an orangey colour. So I use 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric powder. And this won't affect the flavour at all, and it's very good for health as well. Turmeric is very good for taking down any inflammation in the body, so it's actually good to include it in your diet every day if you can. And I'll just put in a 1/4 teaspoon of beetroot powder, which you can buy in health food shops and in some supermarkets. Grated 1/2 this orange and just got the zest. That just adds to the flavour. It goes well with all those spices that we put in. And just put that into here. Okay, now we're just going to mix it a bit. If you don't have a mixer, you could do it by hand, but it's easier with a mixer. Now for the wet ingredients, so I've got some coconut oil that I've melted. So I'm just going to put 6 tablespoons of that in. And some vanilla extract. About 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. Looks curdled now. So just need to tip that into the bowl and just mix it all together. And that is a very tasty mixture. So all you have to do is put it into the mini bundt tins. And if you use an ice cream scoop, it makes it a bit easier. Should fill about 12 and just even it out a little bit. So there's basically the same amount in each one. Just bake it at 180 degrees for about 15 minutes. Okay, now we have to make the glaze to ice the cakes. So I'm going to use cacao butter. To do all of these cakes makes about 6 jack-o'-lanterns. So you probably need about 1.5 cups of cacao butter, but I'm only going to use half now. I'm only doing 1/3 of the quantity right now, just to demonstrate. So I'm just using 1/2 cup. All right, so now you just need to melt that on a very low heat. Okay, I'm going to get the other ingredients ready while that's melting. So you would need about 3/4 of a cup of coconut cream, but I'm just using 1/4 now. And if your coconut cream has been in the fridge, then you need to just heat it so that it warms up a bit, because we want all the ingredients to be at a similar temperature. 1/4 cup in the blender. You'd need 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, so I just put in 1. And 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla, so I'll put in 1/2 teaspoon for 1/3 of the quantity. 1/4 teaspoon each of turmeric and beetroot powder. If you're making the full quantity, that's 3/4 teaspoon of each of those, and that will give it a nice orangey colour. So when the cacao butter is melted, I'll just add that and blend it. If there's a couple of lumps, it won't matter, just blend in. So now we have our glaze for the cakes. It's been in for 15 minutes. As you can see, if you put a knife in and it comes out clean, that means the cake is cooked. So now we just got to leave these to cool completely. So they have to go really cold before you try to take them out, or they may break. So when they're really cold, just loosen the edges gently, or all around the edges, like that. And then they should come out easily, but as I said, wait till they're really cold. Once your cakes are really cold and you've turned them out and just made sure they're completely cool, then just put them in the freezer. Ideally overnight, but several hours until they firm up, because it's a lot easier to work with the cake when it's really cold. Otherwise it's just going to crumble. So this is actually a recipe that you can do up to like a day, 2 days, even 3 days ahead if you want, because it keeps really well in the freezer. So when you're ready to assemble the cake, just keep it out of the freezer just for 5-10 minutes, just so it does thaw out enough to be able to cut the top to make it flat. So as you see, it doesn't really matter if the hole has gone over anyway. So just slice that off. Now just put it like this. Use an apple core and just go into the middle, just to make sure you have a nice hole going through the middle, like that. Okay, need some baking paper on a plate or a tray, whatever fits in the freezer. So we have our glaze that we made. For the bottom cake, you just hold it like that and just dip it in, and then just let it drip off a little bit. Put it onto the tray or the plate. And for the other one, just do it the opposite way around. It's easier like that. Or maybe you can just turn it. You just kind of need to coat the whole thing. And just strip it off a bit and then place it on top. And then you just need to put this in the freezer to set. So you might have to keep it there for about an hour or so. because it needs to be quite firm. The icing has to be quite firm and set, so that makes it easier to do the next step. So as I said, this does take a while, so it's better if you do it a day or so before you want to use it. Alright, so I have these ones have been in the fridge for an hour or so, probably about 2 hours or more, and they have set. So now we can do the next step, which is you need your apple corer. You can just go through the middle again. You see how the glaze sometimes blocks up the middle? So you can just push the apple corer through to make sure it's all unblocked. There we go. Have a nice hole through the center. We need to make the eyes, so we can use the apple corer again. So you just gently put your finger in there and just gently press with the apple corer. You've got to go fairly gently so you don't break it. And then just pull that piece out like that. So then you can make another eye. Don't put it too close or it's likely to break. So just gently again. There we go. Now to make the mouth, you just need a small sharp knife, and you have to be very careful with this because this can break as well if you aren't careful. So you just cut a shape for the mouth. It can kind of be like any kind of shape you want. So just cut the cake out like that. Alright, so there we have the eyes and the mouth. So once you've done that, you can glaze the cake again. Just stir the glaze a bit. It does thicken a little as it cools, but that's fine. So we just put a bit around where we've cut out the eyes. And the mouth there. Alright, and you just sort of put a little bit around the bottom part like that. It is a bit of a messy job, but it's quite fun. And then you can just like dip it back into the glaze like this and just put it just set on the tray. You can always like add a bit more around the top like this. And some of these drips that come down actually add quite a nice effect to the finished product. So we'll just let it drip down a bit like this. Okay, so you can put this back in the fridge to set, and you could do another layer of glaze again if you want to have it a bit thicker. And when you've done with the layers, you can always sprinkle a bit of turmeric and beetroot powder over it. Just with a sieve or to sprinkle it on, just to give a little added colour, like that. So you see it just adds a little more colour. You can put as much or little as you like, or you can leave it out, it's up to you. You can just get creative with this. Could be fun for the family to make and do all different creative ideas. So I just put this back in the freezer now so that it can firm up. So then once it's all done, just leave it in the freezer until you're ready to serve it. If you find that the glaze has blocked up the inside hole, you just need to put the apple corer back in there. You can always do this after the whole thing is set. So when you're ready to serve these, you just need a little bit of baking paper to go underneath, which you can just use a bit of the icing to stick it onto the board or the plate or whatever you want to use. Now you just need some birthday cake candles. So I'm just going to light one. So we need to drip a bit of wax on to the paper so that the candle will stick on there. Alright, now the candle should stick on there like that. We'll just get our jack-o'-lantern cakes and carefully place them over the candles. So make sure that the candle's in the center of the hole in the middle. And now we just have to light the candles. Alright, so they may melt the icing a little bit, but they should actually stay like that until the candle burns down most of the way. And then once the candles burn down, you can eat the cake. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you.